Hey everyone. This video is probably going to go out late because I'm recording it pretty close to the time I should be getting it out. That's because I went back and forth quite a bit on whether to put it out or not. And that's because someone I respect a lot, Judge David Wolf from Dixon, Cheatham, Houston, there's one more, and that other county in Tennessee, put out a statement last night that really bothered me. And it said he is not going to, well, initially it said he's not going to broadcast the Chancery Court anymore. In Tennessee, Chancery Court is the majority of the civil cases. He later amended it to say they would be available live, but he would not be leaving them posted like he had done in the past. And this was due to something that occurred on a channel or a TikTok or something along those lines where people were insulting an attorney or someone who was on one of his court cases. And I know that I have covered a lot of his court cases, and we're about to look at one now. And I know that we have said some not nice things about some of the people that are in it. And I would like to not do that so much anymore, because I think we need to look at these cases and we need to remember where these people are coming from. I'm sure most of you are on Facebook. Now, if you're a man, this probably doesn't apply to you, but for women, for the most part, if you look around and you look at all the other pictures, it's always the happy, perfect, smiley, everything's great picture. It's like the Christmas card picture. Everything's perfect. Look at my perfect life. Everything's wonderful. Oh, look, it's my Facebook life. My Facebook life is perfect because that's what I want the world to see. That's what I want it to be like, but it's not really like that. If you come back, and look at this chaos. There's some chaos here. There's my chair squeaking. I can't figure out how because it's way down deep in the inside and my head hurts and I'm sitting here with my 5-day-old soup thinking, is it still good? Yeah, maybe. That's my life. I don't want to hide my life. I want to show you reality. And that's what these cases are. They're reality, but they're somebody else's reality, and it's probably a pretty crappy reality because what they're going through kind of sucks. In some cases, some people are enjoying it. They need to know their worth. Because no one is you, and that's your power. Self-love. Unapologetically enough. And the amazing Carrie Rawson, survivor of all survivors. So I'm just showing you that because you need to hit that like button. Next to it is that share button. Hit that so somebody else sees this because, there's only 12 of you actually watching right now. And then go down to the comments and hit hashtag Meg's back because I was gone for a while. I know you probably didn't miss me, but I was. There was hurricanes that tried to wipe out Florida from the universe, which they had a point. So, hashtag Meg's back in the comments section. Every milestone we hit on the way to 100K, which is probably going to take us, 12 years, but we'll get there. I'm going to send out a prize pack for everyone, and someone might get the self-love prize pack. Who knows? But don't be an asshat and contact people and say really mean things. Focus on the legal issue and what's going on and what the court case is about, and learn what happens outside your bubble, because other people's bubbles, they're not always as pretty as, Yeah. Some people got soap in their bubbles. Okay, let's go to court.
We're waiting on your client, Ms. Jordan, is that correct?
We can get started.
All right, this is a motion for Pendannuality visitation and a motion for contempt, is that correct?
It is amount of
Okay. All right, it's your motion, I think was first file, Mr. Spratt. You want to put on your proof? Jordan, if you'll come up.
Afternoon, Mr. Jordan.
Afternoon, sir.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Joshua Thomas Jordan.
Okay. And Mr. Jordan, how do you know Miss Sarah Jordan?
She is my wife.
Okay. And are you currently separated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have a child with her?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how old is the child?
She's a little over 3 years old.
And what day was she born?
June 28th, 2021.
Okay. And as you stated, you're separated, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What was the date of that separation?
I believe it was September 9th of 2023.
Okay. And at that time, you were charged criminally, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it was originally charged as a domestic assault, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so since that time, how long has it been since you've seen your child unsupervised?
I have not.
You have not since September 9th of last year?
Correct.
Okay. And have there been some temporary orders entered as to the visitation?
Yes.
Okay. And can you describe for the court what those visitation times have looked like, what the normal?
Originally, it was 6 hours, 2 hours Wednesday evening, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and then 4 hours on Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay. And that was did that ever change?
Yeah, at some point, I believe it was in August, possibly, at the mother's discretion, had decided to change the hours up.
Okay. Let me back up. Have you since handled your criminal charges?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have you been on probation, misdemeanor probation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you plead guilty to domestic assault?
No, sir.
Okay. But you are on misdemeanor probation, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was for a violation of bond conditions during that?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the violation of bond conditions, let me talk about that real quick. What did you do?
Just texting with my wife, nothing malicious.
It was just a simple contact, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you owned up to that, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so let me ask you about probation. How has probation gone?
As good as can get. I mean, paid up, passing drug screens, so no issues to say the least.
Has there been a violation warrant issued at all?
No, sir.
Okay. Before you went on probation, have you in the past had some trouble with, or not some trouble, but have you had some drinking issues?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before you went on probation, did you go to a treatment facility?
Yes, sir, in March.
Okay. And did you complete that facility before probation?
Yes, sir.
Did you do some domestic abuse counseling before that probation?
Yes, sir.
Since that point in time, did there come a period of time when you backslid maybe and drank a couple of times?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sitting here today, when is the last time that you had a drink of alcohol?
July 31st.
Of this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have you taken a test at the end of September to confirm that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you paying for those tests out of pocket?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me ask you about prior to the divorce, or to the separation, I'm sorry. Would you spend time with your daughter?
Yes, sir. Whenever I would get back home from work.
Okay. Did y'all go places when you weren't at work or whatever?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you drive?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And would that be with you and your wife and the daughter?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Majority of the time, she was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay, so she did not work during the marriage?
No, sir.
And since this separation, the visitation, tell me again, how long are the visits?
Total during the week, 6 to 8 hours.
It's a 2-hour visit and a 4-hour visit?
Right, and then another 2-hour visit. So as of right now, her discretion, it is Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Okay. And what kind of activities do you do when you're visiting with your daughter?
You mind would you repeat that again for me? What you've been exercising Tuesdays?
It's Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
All right, thank you.
And what kind of activities have you and your daughter engaged in during the visits?
I mean, anything and everything, sir, from playing, with dolls and marbles inside to, riding scooters, jumping on trampoline, going down, playing on the play set that I built her, going to the pond on their property, going fishing a little bit, bought her a fishing pole, anything, that a little 3-year-old would want to do, pretty much play chase a lot of times is her big thing, but, just anything and everything. And it's a joy, every time I get to be with her.
You know, the splash pad?
We used to, yeah, whenever I was able to see her on Saturdays, but that was taken away from me.
Who took that away from you?
The mother of the child, Sarah.
Okay. So, did she just inform you that she was going to change the days?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did we were here back in July? Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that when you were allowed to have contact with Miss Jordan for the purposes of the child?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at that point, did she start supervising the visits?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm going to back up again. I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but before that, was her mother supervising the visits?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who picked the place for the visits?
Majority of the time would be her mother. I would suggest certain things, as far as splash pad or a different playground, if they were willing and able.
Okay. And what about phone calls? Have you ever asked for phone calls or FaceTime calls or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever been denied those?
Yes.
Okay. How many times?
Every weekend,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay. Are there events that you become aware of that's going on in your child's life that you're missing?
Correct.
What kind of stuff? Just
I mean, there's a lot of firsts, that been taken away. I mean, pretty much a whole year of her life, I've not been able to be a father to her whatsoever. This isn't the first occasion this has happened either. And, all I wanted to do this summer was just go swimming with my daughter, and the mother would not allow that. Even though she was allowed to go do that with her, take her on vacation, I feel like I'm just being punished.
Do you have a residence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it maintained and clean?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does the child have a bedroom there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have a vehicle that's functioning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let me ask you then about work. Have you been working odd jobs?
A lot of side jobs, yes, sir.
Okay. Is that work sometimes unpredictable
It
as far
can-
as when it's going to occur and stuff like that?
It can be, yes, sir.
Okay. Have there been times when you needed to move a visit? Like, because there was an odd job that popped up or something like that?
Yes, that or just not being able to possibly, with Nashville traffic, make it back on time directly at 5 o'clock,
Okay.
just to let them know, hey, I'm going to be 30 minutes late.
Okay, have you advised them of that? Or when you say them, do you mean her and her mother?
Sarah and her mother, yes.
Okay. Have you advised them of that?
Correct.
Okay. And were they willing to make up the time, anything like that?
Typically, no.
Okay. And now, do you have a more stable job prospect?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where is that going to be?
Walmart and possibly Martin Brower.
Okay. And have you received an offer from either one of those places?
Yes.
Okay. And do you anticipate going to work at a full-time, more regularly scheduled job?
Yes, sir.
Now, you've had some vehicle wrecks, right?
Yes, sir.
Any of those vehicle wrecks were was law enforcement dispatched?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you ever charged for drinking during any of those vehicle wrecks?
No, sir.
Okay. And law enforcement was on scene?
Correct.
Okay. So you weren't charged with any alcohol-related offenses or anything
No,
such
sir.
as that? Okay. Do you drink and drive?
No, sir.
Okay. Have you ever hurt your child?
No, sir.
Okay. And what are you asking the court to do today as far as what's your goal here today?
Just to be able to be in Eliza's life more and be the father, that she deserves, and also be able to do that unsupervised.
Okay. And do you kind of feel like your visitation is being prearranged for you as to how it goes and things like that? I'll rephrase.
Sustained.
Why do you want it to be unsupervised?
Because I feel like that the two are just over top of me, watching the whole time, not allowing me to, basically kind of restraining me and holding me back. And then also with me not being a part in Eliza's life over the past year, of course, she, with only being 3 years old, is going to be more apt to be pulled to the mother in certain instances where I am not able to, I guess, attend, so to speak, which is perfectly understandable. I mean, she's 3.5 years old. What can you expect?
Okay. And do you, would you be able to take Eliza to doctor's appointments if she needed to go?
I would like to, yes, sir.
Okay. Would you be able to take her to any preschool or anything like that she may be enrolling in the next couple of years?
That would be a joy.
Okay. And would you like to be able to go to school events?
Yes, sir.
Things like that? Okay. Some other things that you've done real quick. Have you acknowledged that you've had alcohol problems in the past? I think we've covered that. Did you attend AA meetings for quite a while?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you feel like unsupervised visitation would increase the bond with you and your daughter?
Absolutely.
Okay. Those are my questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Duke, you may cross-examine.
Now, sir, since February of last year, you've had 4 wrecks, is that correct? February of 2023 to today's date. February 2024, I'm sorry. You've had 4 car wrecks, is that correct?
Thereabouts, yes.
So 1 about every other month, is that fair?
Fair.
Okay. And during that time, you totaled 3 vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And all you have done to show Strike that, Judge. And you want this court to believe that you haven't been under the influence of any drug, narcotic, or alcohol when you totaled 3 different vehicles in 8 months?
It appears so.
Okay. And you know, and you've told your brother and you've told your mom before, that they don't test for acid or shrooms when they do drug testing. Is that correct?
I've never told them that.
Okay. And while you may have been sober from alcohol since July, you haven't been sober from acid or shrooms, have you?
No. I mean, I've not, that way to answer that, I have not ingested those.
When was the last time you ingested shrooms, sir?
I have not.
Okay. You understand you're under oath today?
Yep,
Okay. When was the last time that you used acid?
I haven't.
Well,
Acid-
she's clarifying it, I think, because there was a little confusion in his answer, so overruled.
Thank you, Judge.
Years ago, over 5+, I would have to say.
Okay, so when you said, no, I haven't, you actually have, but now you're saying that it was over 5 years ago.
You asked if I had in the past year.
No, well, I'm not going to argue with you. Now, sir, since February of last year, you've had 4 wrecks, is that correct? February of 2023 to today's date. February 2024, I'm sorry. You've had 4 car wrecks, is that correct?
Thereabouts, yes.
So 1 about every other month, is that fair?
Fair.
Okay. And during that time, you totaled 3 vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And all you have done to show, strike that, Judge. And you want this court to believe that you haven't been under the influence of any drug, narcotic, or alcohol when you totaled 3 different vehicles in 8 months. Now, since our last time in court, since July, sorry, I'm gonna back up from this one. It's kind of loud. Since you went to rehab, sir, you didn't complete rehab, did you?
I did.
Okay, do you have a certificate of completion for that?
I do.
Have you provided that to
Yes.
your counsel? When you completed it, you left and the very next day you started drinking again, is that correct?
I do not recall that.
Okay, you don't recall how long it took you to start drinking again? When did you leave rehab, do you remember?
It was at the end of March.
Okay, it was before your 30 days to be in rehab was up. Can you explain to the court why you didn't stay the entire 30 days?
I completed my time there.
And you don't recall how long after you left there that you relapsed?
I would have to say it was probably in May or June.
Okay, and no doubt you relapsed, but you continued to represent to your attorney and to Ms. Jordan that you had not relapsed, is that correct?
I'm unsure of the question.
Okay. You continued to tell Ms. Jordan that you weren't using alcohol, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, but she suspected during that time period that you continued to be under the influence. And she asked you about it, didn't she?
possibly.
You don't recall that either?
It's a lot of conversation, ma'am.
Okay. What is your current job? I know you said you've got these opportunities. All of a sudden, you've got something coming with Martin Brower and with Walmart. What is your job right now?
My job right now,
Yes.
as far as
Tell me what you did yesterday for a job.
to make money, did woodwork, cut trees,
Okay. Who did you cut trees for, sir?
different people. But I mean, you know, yesterday it was through Trey.
Yesterday it was through Trey, what?
Hartsook.
Art Set,
Sook.
Art Sook. Okay, and how much did he pay you for your tree job yesterday? It's gonna go to,
Well, I think it was asked about, on direct, about job opportunities and his work schedule, so that overrule it is relevant based on his testimony on direct.
it's also relevant to my motion. Sir, how much did you earn yesterday?
Probably about $450.
Okay. And how were you paid?
Cash.
Okay. And what did you do the day before for work?
I didn't work on Monday.
Okay. The day before would have been Tuesday, sir. What did you do on Tuesday?
I apologize. Did work around the cabin.
Did work around the cabin where you're living right now?
Correct.
Okay. And were you paid for that work?
No.
Who owns that home?
My mother.
Do you pay rent there?
No.
Okay. Do you pay the utilities?
No.
Do you have any expenses related to that home?
No.
And what did you do on Monday for a job?
Didn't have the opportunity to work on Monday.
Okay. So prior to Wednesday, when was the last time you worked?
It probably had to have been the week before.
What day the week before do you?
I don't remember exactly what day.
Judge, just like Mr. Spratt, I also get to ask questions, and it is relevant and it pertains to stability. I mean, just because he didn't ask about it doesn't mean that I did, that I'm precluded from asking about it. It's important because I've got a motion for contempt filed today. We received $1,100 from him today. This is important.
Overruled.
What day did you work the week prior? Did you work any of the days?
Friday.
Okay, what'd you do Friday?
Same sort of stuff.
Are you filing your taxes on the money you're earning, sir?
I haven't received or been able to make an attempt at that yet. So I don't know what the question is. It would still be for this year, so therefore I'm not filing taxes for this
Okay.
year yet.
Are you doing any bookkeeping so that you can set money aside to pay your taxes? I need to know if he's keeping up with it so that I can subpoena these people to verify that what he is saying is true. And I am absolutely entitled to that information today.
Overruled. Let me say this, there is a motion for contempt down. A motion for contempt goes to the issue of his having complied with a court order regarding payment of child support. That it necessarily entails the question of whether or not it was willful contempt or whether or not he had the ability to pay. And the questions that Ms. Duke is asking are questions that are designed to elicit whether or not there's any sort of record that would establish whether he's testifying truthfully about his income. So I think it is relevant. So overrule the objection.
Sir, are you doing anything to keep up with bookkeeping with what you're earning?
No, I'm not.
Okay, then how do you intend to pay your taxes?
We'll figure it out whenever it comes.
Okay, do you understand that not keeping up with those things is potentially fraudulent?
I guess not, sir, ma'am.
Do you understand the importance of it before this court today, that they understand what you're earning and how you're earning it?
Sure.
Okay. Is there any reason why you've not come here today with any sort of evidence to show what you've earned?
Didn't realize it was relevant.
Okay. Sir, how much have you earned in the last month? Do you know?
I haven't been keeping track.
Okay. Where did you get the $1,100 from that you brought to court today?
It's family.
Okay, who in your family provided you with that money?
My family.
Okay, who in your family provided you with that money?
My family.
Okay, sir, who, Judge, if you would instruct him to answer that question.
You have to answer who specifically gave it to you. The reason for that is that anything you testify about in court is subject to verification because, believe it or not, people don't always tell the truth under oath in a proceeding like this. Not saying you're not, but she has a right to ask you who it is that you got the money from, because if you're not earning enough money to pay your child support, that's one thing. If you're earning enough money but spending it on other things, that's another. So just if you'll just answer the question, we can move forward. So,
My mother.
And when did she provide you with that money?
Recently,
Okay, when's recently?
yesterday.
And did she provide you with all $1,100?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you spend your $450 you earned doing tree work yesterday?
Paying bills.
Okay. What bills did you pay, sir?
Trying to get caught up on credit cards.
What kind of credit cards do you have?
Regular credit cards.
And you paid those bills before you made sure that your child received child support. Is that correct? Yes or
It
no?
would appear so.
Okay. And you can agree with me that despite getting $1,100, you still owe Miss Jordan $190 in child support. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you had $450 that extra that you could have devoted to that $190 and gotten paid up in full prior to today. Is that correct?
It would appear so.
Okay. Now, you can agree with me, sir, that you've got anger issues. Is that fair?
Explain
Have anger issues?
regarding.
Have you had the police called on you in the recent past?
From your client, yes.
Have you had the police called on you at Dixon County Tire and Oil?
Nope.
Okay. Have you been asked not to return to the premises at Dixon County Tire and Oil?
Yes.
Okay. And when you found out that, stop there. You can agree with me that your mom is supportive of Miss Jordan, and you don't like that.
No.
She's not supportive of Miss Jordan?
No.
Okay. She doesn't provide Miss Jordan with information about. I'll strike that.
I'm not sure it would be hearsay. Hearsay is a statement made outside of court. Question is whether or not information was or was not is not a statement made out of court, so overrule the objection. But don't go into what was said, but
Right.
you can ask whether or not information was or was not provided.
Has information been provided to you?
I think she unknowingly provides information and does not realize the extent that it will be held against me.
Okay. And you got angry and upset with her and told her she couldn't keep her mouth shut and sent her a text message about how would she know otherwise about the Dixon County Tire and Oil incident. Is
And
that
how would
what
you have that information?
I don't answer questions here,
Okay.
you do. Okay. So did you send your mother a text an angry text about how would she know about the Dixon County Tire
I
and
don't think it
Oil
was
incident?
angry. I think it was a
Okay,
justification of a
If you'll let me finish
text.
asking the question, then you can answer it.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
Did you send your mother a text after you found out that she knew about the Dixon County Tire and Oil incident, asking her if she provided Ms. Jordan with that information? Did you send your mother that text? Yes or no?
Are we done? Yes.
Okay. And you said to her, "This is the exact stuff I'm talking about with you. You cannot keep your mouth shut." Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Is your mom concerned that you're still using?
Sustained.
Has your mom vocalized to you?
Overrule, the statement's not being made to or introduced to prove the truth of the statement. It's being asked to show whether or not there is a certain question being asked, but overrule the objection.
Has your mom vocalized to you that she's concerned you're still using, sir?
During certain instances, yes, but I do believe this is a volatile resentment due to my father, my late father.
Okay, so you think your mother's concerns are not accurate?
What is the hearsay? Turn your microphone on there on the table.
She's now trying to backdoor this in, that there are in fact concerns from his mother by going around. He has no basis of knowledge as to what his mother's concerns are without eliciting hearsay. If she wanted to get his mother here to testify against him, she knows where the subpoena place is. So if that was going to happen, that's happened. What Ms. Duke's trying to do is have him testify that his mother doesn't want him to see his child. Hence the basis of the entire objection. So this whole line of questioning is improper.
I don't agree. I think it's proper.
Sustain the objection.
All right, Mr. Jordan, even though you're asking for more visitation today, you agree with me that you've had an altercation at Dixon County Tire and Oil. Is that correct?
Where I called the police.
Okay. And you've been asked to never return to Dixon County Tire and Oil. Is that correct?
It would not be never, it would just be for the time being.
Okay.
Never would be infinite, and that's not true,
Okay. But no doubt you've been asked not to go back.
for the time being.
And you had an altercation when you were moving things out of the cabin. Is that correct?
What are you talking about?
How many times have the police been called in the last 3 months when you've been involved?
Once, whenever I called them.
At the Dixon County Tire and Oil? What about at the cabin?
What, at the cabin?
Okay. Did your family call?
No,
I'll just have my client testify about that.
please.
Tell me, your visitations are so important to you that you no-called and no-showed on October the 10th. Is that correct?
That's very correct.
Okay. And you fell asleep at your last visitation. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say fell asleep, I would say me and Eliza dozed off together.
Okay. And so if the mother says that Eliza was awake during that time period, that would not be accurate?
I'm unsure on that.
Okay. You can agree with me that you slept through some of your visit on that date, on the very last visit.
What is some?
You
What
slept-
is some? I mean, you
You
want to
tell
break
me.
it down to a minute by minute, you know,
Sir,
because
I'm not answering questions here, you are. You tell me what
think this-
some is. Tell me
I don't know
how
what
long
some is.
you
My sum
slept.
is different than your sum,
Okay.
ma'am.
Tell me how long you slept, sir.
I'm not sure, maybe 10 minutes. It was towards the end of visitation.
Had you had anything, any kind of drug or illegal
No,
substance prior to that visit?
no,
Okay. You hadn't worked that day, had you?
no.
Okay. What excuse did you have did you have a full night of sleep that night?
I didn't have my Adderall, ma'am.
So are you taking Adderall?
Yes,
Is that the only drug you've got right now that you're
Correct.
using? And what is your prescription for the Adderall?
what do you mean?
What is your dosage?
What is my dosage?
Yes, sir.
Object to the relevance. He said it's prescribed to him. I'm not sure what the relevance of this is.
You're asking to have unsupervised visitation, therefore any prescription medications he takes and the reasons he takes them would be relevant, so overruled.
What is your dosage amount, sir?
50 milligrams a day.
Okay, is that 1 time per day or 2 times per day?
It would be 130 and 120.
Okay, so you take it in 2 different pills, is that correct? One in the
Correct.
morning and one at night?
Not at night, in the afternoon.
Afternoon. And what time did you say you fell asleep?
Are we talking about visitation again? Because you're bouncing around like we're playing basketball or something.
Yes, sir.
So
What time did you fall asleep on that last visit that you
it would have to be around after 12:30.
that you blamed on not having your Adderall?
Correct. Whenever I would usually take it.
Okay. Why did you not have it with you to get it taken?
I didn't. I have it with me. I mean, I don't know what else you want me to tell you.
Who prescribes that medicine for you?
My psychiatrist.
And who is your psychiatrist?
Oh, I'd have to go back and look exactly.
Who fills your prescription? What pharmacy?
White Bluff
White Bluff Apothecary?
Pharmacy.
How often when was the last time you saw your psychiatrist?
A couple days ago, or I mean, yeah, at the end of last week, I believe. Yeah,
Where is the office located?
it was virtual.
Are they aware that you've got an alcohol problem?
Yeah,
And what is it prescribed for? What is your diagnosis?
ADHD.
Now, between the last time you were in court and today, the two of you agreed to have scheduled phone calls, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so you're not holding Miss Jordan accountable for phone calls that are outside the scheduled times, are you?
I don't very rarely receive any phone calls. Maybe one a weekend whenever we had scheduled two, was it, I believe?
Okay, Saturday or Sunday was the
Saturday
schedule.
and Sunday.
Okay. And or Sunday, is that correct?
And Sunday.
Okay. And she places those phone calls to
It
you?
should be every evening, is what I believe, ma'am.
She places those phone calls to you, is that correct?
And she doesn't have 5 minutes out of the day to do that?
I'm, again, not answering questions.
Okay.
You are. She places those phone calls to you, is that accurate?
I don't know who else would. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you could call her, right?
No, I can't.
Okay.
She doesn't answer. She doesn't answer text. So, I mean, I don't know what you want me to do. The agreement was whenever she had the time, she would let me know and give me a call, which a lot of times is only about 10 minutes before. So that it can be ranging from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock in the evening.
Well, is it fair that she doesn't take your text messages or return your text messages when you're belittling her or sending her 30 messages in the matter of an evening? Is that fair?
Is it fair with what she's done, keeping my child from me?
Again,
Oh my God. It
I'm
pertains
not
to the same
answering
thing, ma'am.
questions, sir. I'm asking you, is it, if someone peppered you with 30 text messages, would
Mm-hmm.
you tend to ignore those text messages or would you tend to answer each single text message?
It would depend on the validation.
Okay. If someone's calling you names over text message, would you answer those questions?
If it's valid.
Okay.
If I'm acting like that, yeah.
Can you agree with me, sir, that you've called her some ugly names over text message?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. And she's the mother of your child. Is that fair?
Yeah, fair.
And your child is 50% her, but you're still calling her names?
But the child's also 50% me, and she keeps the child from me. I mean, I'm trying to figure out where you're wanting to go with this, because it seems like quite nonsense, if you ask me, ma'am.
Mr.
Oh,
Jordan,
does
if you'll
it?
scoot that microphone closer to you there. Because I want to hear everything you're saying and
Yes, sir.
how you respond to her. Because see, I don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know her. I make my judgments about people from what I see and how they behave in the courtroom. So, the way that you respond to her and the things that you say in response to the question help me to formulate an opinion of you. So I just wanted to make sure I'm hearing everything correctly. So go ahead, Ms. Duke.
What was that last statement you said?
I feel like that I'm jumped through every hoop that y'all have asked me to jump through, and it still gets me nowhere. I make no headway with my wife. She makes no attempt to want to act like she wants to have any kind of relationship with me as far as co-parenting. And yes, it is a very frustrating process over the past year. So, yes, I have my faults, and
But that wasn't your statement, sir. Your statement was that this is all nonsense.
from what you're leading into, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you can't take responsibility or accept responsibility for your actions at Dixon County Tire and Oil, correct?
I don't understand what you're saying at that, except my actions. What were my actions?
Okay. Again, sir, I'm not answering questions here. You are, sir.
Again, I'm the one who called the police. I'm the one, it's all on record up there as well, too. It's, if you want to subpoena the video, subpoena the video. I didn't react. I was attacked. I didn't even react during the attacking.
Okay. And, but ultimately, you've been told not to come back.
I believe this is ground we've covered already.
Yes, I'll go on, Judge. Now, you've also been an alcoholic, but you really haven't owned that today either.
What are you trying to say on that? I mean, yes, I've had issues with alcohol.
Okay. Are you under the influence of anything today?
No.
Okay. When was the last time you used anything that was other than Adderall, that was a narcotic, an illegal substance, a prescription misused, or alcohol?
The 31st of July.
Do you have a sponsor, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And when was the last AA meeting that you went to?
It's been a couple weeks for sure.
But you've had time because you've not been working. You could have attended an AA meeting every day, couldn't you?
Could, yes.
Okay? You don't have a child to make sure you don't have to make sure the child gets to school, so you could go in the morning to your AA or in the afternoon to your AA meetings. Is that correct? And you've chosen not to do so?
As of right now, yes.
Okay. What were your recommendations when you left rehab? It was to keep a sponsor and to go to AA, is that correct?
I think that's every recommendation.
Okay, but you've not followed those recommendations?
As far as 100%, no.
Okay. And where you're living, the cabin you're living in, who else lives there with you, sir?
My brother sometimes.
Okay, and he's got mental health and drug issues, is that correct?
As far as the drugs, I'm not sure. Mental health, yes.
Okay, well, would it be important for you to know about the drugs if he's going to be there when your child's there?
I think yes, it would be very important.
Okay, but you don't know about that. You've not had a conversation with him about
I've had conversations. Have you tried to have a conversation with him? It's irrelevant to having a conversation with him.
it. Okay, so does that make you think he's using drugs?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
Okay, but he comes and goes as he pleases at that home, is that correct?
Sometimes.
Okay, and you don't really have any control over when he's there or not there?
Correct.
Okay. Judge, if I may have
But you may.
Did you send her 22 text messages on October the 25th, one after the other?
That's just from October the 25th?
Mm-hmm.
It's not even adding up right. You got 7:22, 7:25, 7:26, and it goes to 9:39. This next one is 7:44 p.m. without a date on it.
Sir, did you send her along with the text messages?
On October 25th, again, you're going,
Okay,
there's,
I'll let my client testify about that, Judge.
that's fine. This is not even in order, but okay.
Now, on October the 10th, when you no called and no showed, no called and no showed to the house, did you wait until 1:54 p.m. the next day to send her a text?
Yes.
Okay, and that text to the court.
Hey there, Sarah Shine. It was wrong for me to not call or send a message yesterday regarding Liza's visit. But what I had to do, I felt like was necessary to do some deep healing and necessary spirit work on myself. Had to get rid of some deep-rooted demons that have been with me for a long time. Unfortunately, the timing of that is not the best as far as it took up the visitation. I just want to know how long I was asleep this time. Feels great to finally be awake.
So you were asleep
Mark it as Exhibit 1.
So you were also asleep at that time, is that correct?
It would appear so.
Okay. Did you also send her one that said I was doing some necessary cleaning out of my spirit, burying things, letting go of things so I can progress in my journey of life? My spirit was badly broken. I almost had to lose myself in order to find it. Yes, unfortunately, it was during Eliza's visitation time, but I felt like it was important. Did you send that one also?
Yes.
And your testimony before this court is that you were not under the influence on October the 10th or October the 11th, and that was not the cause of why you missed visitation.
Correct.
Now, you don't really keep your car in a manner that would be necessarily safe for travel for the child. Lots of stuff out in the open in your vehicle.
Nothing of harm. Looks like just clothes, if you ask me.
There's a cooler there that's got something in it.
I would say drinks,
Okay.
i.e. water, Gatorade.
Okay, and boots, and is that how you keep your vehicle?
Not all the time, no.
Okay. When you totaled your vehicles, did they look like that?
I don't recall. I would have to say an airbag.
That is the next one.
Exhibit 2. Are there multiple pictures there?
Yeah.
2 collective.
What were they collectively? I may ask Mr. Newton.
Pardon me. Redirect.
Mr. Jordan, Ms. Dick asked you if you completed rehab, and you said that you did. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, may I approach?
May.
Got a copy of your certificate where you completed rehab?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're aware that it was attached to this motion as an exhibit? You can say you're not aware of what was
I'm not
attached. if you're
aware,
not,
yeah.
okay. All right, I'm looking to move that in as the next exhibit.
No objection.
And you, Ms. Duke, insinuated that you haven't addressed your issues. You were ordered to take anger management classes, is that correct? Before you resolved your criminal cases, weren't you?
Correct.
Okay, and you did decide to agree to go ahead and complete a 12-step accelerated domestic violence case class, is that right?
A step further, correct.
Voluntarily?
Correct.
Okay, did you complete that on May the 15th of 2020?
I did.
To move that as the next exhibit.
No objection.
It's okay.
Mr. Jordan, Ms. Duke asked you specifically about your vehicle and your driving in those instances. Have you been to court for any traffic tickets that were issued due to those?
No.
Have you proactively completed a defensive driving course?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to submit that as the next exhibit.
No objection.
Okay, now, the issue at Dixon Tire and Oil, you called the police, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
Were you arrested for that?
No, sir.
Okay, and your mother owns that tire and oil store, right?
Correct.
Okay, And it was a difference of opinion between you and the management, right?
Correct.
And so your mom sided with the manager and you're not to be around there for a while, right?
Correct.
Okay, did you injure anybody?
No.
Did you hit anybody?
No.
Were you violent towards anybody?
No.
Okay.
Go
Now,
back and say, what about, who was the owner of management?
his mother,
My mother is the owner.
But
of
she's
Dixon
not the
County.
Dixon Tire and Oil?
Correct.
but she is
So
not
the-
the manager.
Okay.
And your mother wasn't present when this happened, was it?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. And Ms. Duke asked you between the last time in court today that you had agreed to schedule phone calls. Do you recall the last time we were in court?
It had to have been, what?
In July, maybe?
Yeah, I was gonna say the 11th.
Okay. And in July, there was an agreement that there would be no further drinking, right?
Correct.
Drinking at all, right?
Correct.
With any party,
Correct.
including Miss Jordan, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Ms. Duke further asked you that the 50% was Miss Jordan's child and 50% yours, yet you call her names, right? That's what Ms. Duke asked you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did Miss Jordan ever shoot a gun at your head?
She did.
Okay. Did Miss Jordan get a DUI with your child in the car?
She did.
Hold on.
I'll strike those questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'll handle those differently myself. She said you haven't owned being an alcoholic, but you did, didn't you?
I would assume so, yes, sir. Going
Okay.
to rehab and going to AA, yes.
All right, and your frustrations, you understand you shouldn't text her that many times, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
get that? All right. Why were you doing it?
Because she does not cooperate with me on letting me see my child.
Would you like to just take your child to go get a snack?
An ice cream, that would be great.
Would you like to take your child trick-or-treating tonight?
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Do you feel like you could ask her to do that and she would be reasonably cooperative with you about that?
No, sir.
And is that why you're here asking for more
Correct.
visitation? Those are my questions, Your Honor.
Let me ask a couple of questions while Ms. Duke's trying to decide what she wants to do. I'm looking at this text message that was made Exhibit 1 to this hearing, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying in this. It says, "Hey there, Sarah Shine. It was wrong for me to not call or send a message yesterday regarding Eliza's visit." And this is the part that I wanted to kind of have you explain to me. But what I had to do, I felt like was necessary to do some deep healing and necessary spirit work on myself. What did you mean by that?
Just by heavy, deep meditation, sir.
Okay. Heavy, deep meditation about what?
Life.
Life?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the next sentence says, "How to get rid of some deep-rooted demons that have been with me for a long time." What did you mean when you said that?
I don't know how familiar and what your feelings are on the universe and our souls and our spirits, but I do feel like sometimes dark entities do get attached to us, and there's multiple ways, I feel like, in order to help detach those spirits.
Okay. Did you feel like those deep-rooted demons you're talking about were some of those dark spirits that you had?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And are those dark spirits an outside force or entity that comes upon you, or do you feel like those are inside you that are coming forward? Do you understand my question?
Trying to, sir.
Okay. I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to understand what your position is. Do you think that there are outside dark forces, demons, or whatever that are exerting an influence upon you?
I feel like sometimes that, depending on the situation and the vibrations, it can.
Vibrations being,
Being frequencies,
you think you're affected by the frequencies and vibrations?
sometimes, yes.
Okay. It says, unfortunately, the timing of that is not the best as far as it took up the visitation. I just want to know how long I was asleep this time. What does that mean?
I honestly couldn't tell you, sir.
Okay. Are you saying you were asleep during the time you were supposed to visit, or that you've been, so to speak, asleep but not aware?
I think it was being asleep physically, but also spiritually asleep.
Okay. All right. And you said you've been seeing a psychiatrist,
Yes.
and how often do you see the psychiatrist?
About once every 3 months.
Okay, and you don't know the name of that
His
psychiatrist?
name's David, Vincent, David Vincent
Okay, where is he located?
in Dixon.
In Dixon?
Yes, sir.
At,
Elite Psychiatry.
okay, all right. Any questions to follow up based on what I've asked?
Briefly, Your Honor, if I may.
You've called him, so it's your turn first, Mr. Spratt, then she can ask. Y'all arguing over who gets to go next?
We are.
Mr. Jordan, did your father pass away within the last year or two?
In May of 22, sir.
Okay. Do you work on your own to try to do some spiritual healing over that?
Yes.
Has it caused some issues between you and your mother?
Yes.
Okay. And are those the kind of things that you meditate about?
Yes.
Okay. Those are my questions.
So when the judge asked you who your psychiatrist was and where they were located and in Dixon and what the name of the practice was, you were able to say that just now. Is there a reason you couldn't tell me that a minute ago?
Couldn't find the file.
Are you not wanting me to have that information?
No.
And when you do your visits with them, you're not sitting down and receiving any sort of therapy. You're simply getting your meds refilled. Is that correct?
He asked me any concerns, any major life changes, and we do talk about that stuff.
Have you told him that you've been asked not to go to the business that your mother owns?
I don't see how that's relevant.
Would it not be relevant to your mental state, how your person is not well received at Dixon County Tire and Oil?
I understand completely why the issue is there, deep-rooted resentments. If it was up to my mother, I would be there, but she does not feel like that she would want to lose her managers at this point, and her trust in me to run the business is not there, so and that is her livelihood, so understandably, she would be taking a risk.
Okay, but she had the ability to review the videos. Like you said, you can review the videos.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Again.
she still took management side. Is that correct? Yes or no?
She does whatever he
Yes or
asks.
no, sir? It's
He
a yes
does
or no.
whatever he asks, yes.
Okay, that's all good.
Mr. Spratt, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. You may call your next witness, Mr.
Your Honor, I
Spratt.
call Miss Sarah Jordan to the stand.
Well, if you'll come around, raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
Could you state your name for the record, please, ma'am?
Sarah Elizabeth Jordan.
Okay. And Miss Jordan, you are currently still married to Joshua Jordan, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I will ask the microphone a lot
Sorry.
of times that.
You can pull that base forward and it'll,
I can just hook, it's okay. Yeah, I'll just hook my feet. I know I'm short.
You are, you guys, we've established that. You have a child named Eliza, right?
Yes,
Okay. And you've had exclusive custody of her for the last year, haven't you?
yes.
Okay. And what was her birthday again?
6/28/21.
Okay. And when was it that you got the DUI with her in the car?
Almost a month after she was born. A couple of days after Josh was arrested the first time for domestic violence.
Okay. What I'm asking you is though, so you're saying that when she was an infant, you got a DUI. What were
I
you
did.
on at that time?
I was drinking.
You were drinking?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Eliza was born with Suboxone in her system, wasn't she?
She was.
Okay. And so you've abused opiates, correct?
And right before she was born, yes.
Okay. And when did you go to treatment?
I did not go to
So
treatment.
you've never been to treatment?
I didn't,
She said
Slow
she
down.
didn't.
Slow, just a second.
Okay.
Slow down. What I think she's objecting to is that you were starting to ask a question while she's still answering the prior one. So let's just all slow down and talk about as fast as I talk, and we'll all be in good shape. So go ahead and ask your question.
Don't know that I've ever.
Scoot up there next to that mic. That base of that microphone will pull towards you. There you go.
So
Go ahead.
when did you go to treatment?
I didn't, they recommended it, but the facility, I didn't have anything in my system when it came to, I had such little amount in my system that all of my drug screens came back negative, and no facility would take me as an inpatient because I was not addicted to anything.
So, but you did some classes or something, right?
I did do some classes and AA classes.
Okay. And do you still do AA classes?
I do not.
Okay. And so this child was born with some sort of opiate in its system or an opiate blocker, right?
Correct.
And then you get this DUI with the child in the car
Correct.
and you just do a few classes.
I did them for a while, as long as they I forget how
They
long it
being-
was. CPS recommended that I do them, so I did and followed all of their recommendations.
And that was until they dismissed a case against you, right?
Correct,
And then you stopped, right?
correct.
Okay. And Mr. Jordan never got a DUI with the child in the car, did he?
He did not.
Okay. In fact, are you working now?
Yes,
Okay. Where are you working?
across the street at the county clerk's office.
Okay. Have you applied or been turned down for a job because you're not allowed to work around children?
Yes.
Okay. Recently, right?
Oh, it's over the summer.
Okay. And do you recall being in court this July previously?
Yes,
All right. And there was an agreement that nobody would drink, right?
yes.
Okay. When was your class reunion?
September 14th or something like that. I forget the exact date, but it was in the middle of September.
Okay. And if I may approach, Your Honor.
Is there an order that was entered in July? I don't,
There was no order entered. Well, there was an agreement in place for an order to be entered, and she said that they agreed to that. So I'm not approaching her with contempt, Your Honor, because there was no order entered.
well, I mean, I'm just trying, I always like to see what the actual language of the order was, but there's no order in the file, so.
Okay.
Is that you drinking?
It is.
Okay. Who keeps your drinking in check?
I do.
You do. But yet you want to keep Mr. Jordan's drinking in check.
I want him to keep his own drinking in check. I think he can,
Well,
I wish he would do that on his own.
okay, so who is the final arbiter of whose drinking is okay and whose drinking is not? You want that to be you, right?
No, that's not my responsibility.
Well, then whose is it?
To keep up with his drinking or
Yeah.
mine?
You don't want him to have visitation because of the drinking, right? Is that your main reason?
No,
Okay.
I want her to be safe, and I feel like decisions that he makes that come along with when he's drinking put her safety at
Such as
risk.
getting a DUI with the child in the vehicle.
I have not, that was the absolute worst decision of my entire life, and I will regret it every single day for the rest of my life.
Sure, but you think it's okay for you to be able to monitor your own decisions with the child, right?
Because I learned from my lesson.
But in your opinion, you learned from your lesson, correct?
Well, I know I learned from, that I would never do that again.
Yet Mr. Jordan has never endangered the child, has he?
I disagree with that.
But that's your opinion. You want to make that assessment as well,
Well,
right?
the first night that he was arrested for domestic violence, I was in the fetal position around her as he kneed and kicked me in the back and ended up kicking me in my C-section. And then the second time that he was arrested for domestic violence, I was holding her when he grabbed and twisted my hair and ripped me backwards. And I tried my best not to fall as I was holding her. So
And you were holding her, you're
To-
talking about for the last time he was arrested, right? Where was
yes,
she when you shot the gun by his head?
she wasn't born yet, sir.
Okay. So you learned from that mistake too?
After he knocked me into the wall and busted my lip so bad that I missed work, and I told him to stay away from me, and he kept coming after me, yes, I had to protect myself.
And so, did you file a report when you shot a gun by his head?
I locked myself in a bedroom. Did he file a report for it?
I don't know. I guess.
Both of y'all want to ask questions of the other lawyer. Just answer the questions.
Sorry, I apologize. No, I did not file a report.
Okay.
I locked myself in the bedroom that night,
Okay.
in the guest bedroom.
And in fact, the night that you're talking about with him pulling your hair, you were asleep when he arrived home with the child in your care, weren't you?
She was, it was her nap time. So a lot of times mothers will nap
Mm-hmm.
when the child naps, because that's a lot of times the only time you can sleep.
Okay. So, and that's okay for you to take a nap with your child, right?
When she naps, yes.
Not okay for Mr. Jordan to have a nap with his child.
She wasn't napping the other day, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I have pictures of it if you'd like
I
to
don't
see
need,
them.
I'm just asking you the
Okay.
questions, okay?
I was just letting you know.
All right. So you are aware, though, even though there wasn't a court order, that both parties agreed not to drink, and then you went and drank.
Let me ask this question so that I'm clear, and I want to hear from the lawyers because there's no order. Was the agreement that neither one of them would ever drink again, or was it just that they would not drink around the child?
Just says neither party to drink alcohol.
I believe it was neither party to drink alcohol. I agree with that, but it never got put in an order.
An order never got entered.
No order, but go ahead.
Because at that point, that is when the previous orders were to be modified to allow you and Mr. Jordan to have lawful contact for purposes of discussing the child, right?
Yes.
Okay. So all that happened at the same time. Did I move that in as an exhibit? I'd like to move that in as an exhibit. That is you drinking, right, at your class reunion?
At my 20-year reunion, yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't know.
And as a further part of that agreement, that there was to be, visitation could be increased as agreed, right? So you could have, I mean, it would have had to have been agreed to by you, right?
Well, I understood it as to be 6 hours, and if we could do more, then we would. With me working full-time, we scheduled for 8 hours a week. And then FaceTime Saturday and or Sundays.
Did you ever, but you didn't try to, or agree to increase it farther than that?
No.
Would you have?
If time would allow it, but by the time I get off work and we get dinner and our schedules, and then on the weekend, that's my time with her, because I don't have time through the week because I'm working full-time.
So and I want to talk about the Suboxone. Why were you on the Suboxone?
At that time, I was so mentally broken down by him. I was not in a good place, and it was put in, it was discussed that if I was given pain medications, maybe I would get stuck on it. So I took Suboxone before I went into the hospital, so that wouldn't be an issue.
So you never took the prescription pain medications? You just,
I've taken them before.
were you stuck on them or not?
Oh, no.
So you just got on a medication that specifically,
I wasn't on it. It was right before I went into the hospital.
well, the child had it in its system.
Correct.
Why were you taking a drug designed to wean people off opioid dependence if you weren't dependent on opioids?
Because it blocks the feeling from
Right.
an opiate. And I would have, with going into the hospital to have a child, they would have prescribed opiates or a pain medication. And so I guess I was afraid with where I was and where we were in our relationship and how broken down I was at that point. I didn't want to take the chance.
Did your obstetrician, your gynecologist, or whoever, whatever they're called, did they indicate to you that they were going to prescribe you opioid-based substances while you were pregnant? Is that what you're saying?
I don't understand the question.
I don't understand the answer. I'll rephrase, I apologize, Your Honor.
This has really bothered me since the first time I saw it. I couldn't wrap my head around the rationale that the excuse she's giving just doesn't seem to hold water in any way you look at it. It doesn't. Yeah. You can just say no. You can just tell the nurses, no, I don't want drugs. And they won't give them to you. So I did a little research. I'm not super familiar with Suboxone, but basically what it does is it helps reduce cravings and withdrawal symptoms, and it can prevent you from having an overdose because it can block some of the, I don't even know how to describe it, the effects of some of the opioids, and it stabilizes the opioid receptors. Now, it's not recommended during pregnancy. Methadone is recommended instead of Suboxone. However, there are certain instances where it's recommended to take Suboxone right before childbirth. That is to reduce cravings and withdrawal symptoms during the process of childbirth so the mother can focus on childbirth. That is, if the mother has an opioid addiction going into delivery. It also can improve the neonatal outcome if there was an addiction prior to delivery. It can reduce the risk of neonatal abstinence syndrome, which is basically withdrawal in babies when they are addicted and born and all of a sudden not getting what they have become used to. Now, mothers who are going into a C-section and have been on Suboxone are recommended to continue taking it. And the reason why is because it will cover both the withdrawal and the post-op pain. Suboxone itself has pain-relieving qualities. The problem is that in order to reduce the pain with regular medication, you have to give a much higher dose because it's going to block that, and you're not going to be able to. Maybe she wanted the pain. I don't know. That there's some mental health disorders where people actually want to feel the pain. However, that isn't the main thing Suboxone does. It doesn't make you feel the pain. It reduces the effects, and you will feel some pain, but it has pain-relieving effects of its own. So it's not like it just blocks the effect of the opioid completely, and you're feeling all the pain that you wouldn't have felt ordinarily. It doesn't work that way. So those are the options that could also be a reason.
I don't understand, and maybe please help me understand, why you, if you didn't have an opioid problem, took an opioid preventing medicine while you were pregnant before delivery that showed up in the child's system if you did not have some sort of opioid problem, issue, something of that nature. Is it your testimony that you anticipated that you might have one, so you took that medicine?
Well, I have been in a relationship with someone that was dependent on it, and I have heard that it doesn't take very long to get dependent on it. And so I didn't know after pregnancy, after C-section, I knew I'd have it for a little while. I did not want to have that effect from them.
Where'd you get the Suboxone?
It was someone that I had known. Yes.
Okay.
It was not prescribed
Did
to
you
me.
tell your obstetrician that you were buying straight Suboxone to make sure that you didn't develop an opioid habit after the baby was born?
No, I did not.
You didn't. You stole Mr. Jordan's father's pills, didn't you?
I did not steal them. I was flushing them down the toilet for him because, again, I saw what it could do to people, and I saw what it was doing to him and to their relationship and to,
But you didn't flush them all down the toilet.
yes, I gave some back to his mom. But yes, I flushed them.
You flushed part of them and then gave part of them. Who witnessed you flush these down the toilet?
Nobody was with me.
Okay. So you flushed part of them and then took part of them to his mom.
Is his mom where you got him?
His dad had them, and he was abusing them. He was taking them a lot. So I was flushing them so he wouldn't have all of them to take, because you would walk in sometimes and he would be out of it. It was sad. So
So how did you make the determination as to how many you were going to flush versus give to the mom?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Just guessed?
I guess.
Call your friend that gave you the Suboxone and ask them?
No,
Okay. Do you have a medical license?
no,
Are you an expert in opioid addiction?
no.
So, and your testimony here today is that you've never had an opioid problem.
I've done them before, but I've not ever had I guess doing them is a problem. But I've never been addicted to them.
Okay. When did you do them?
A long time ago.
I mean, specifically, or as close as you can get.
It was before Josh and I got together.
Okay. So you never did them until after you guys got together, up until the point that you took the Suboxone right before you got pregnant, or right before you delivered,
Yeah,
as a preventative measure for a potentially perceived problem that you solved illegally.
yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And you, in fact, this class reunion, this is not the only time you've drank this year, is it?
No,
Drank at a Super Bowl party, didn't you?
I think I had a glass of wine or two.
And if we were to subpoena everybody at that Super Bowl party, would they remember, would they testify that you had a glass of wine or two?
Was that before this agreement in July?
Yes, that would have been before
Sorry,
theirs.
Ms. Duke was muttering something.
It
but I'm
would
asking
have
you.
been before the agreement. How many did you have the night of the class reunion?
A few.
A few? Okay. Did you tell your lawyer you just had one, or you didn't drink to excess or anything like that?
I told her I had a few, I believe.
I'm sorry,
She
turn your
did-
microphone on.
Right, Judge. I'm going to object on grounds of discussions between lawyer. It's protected information.
She did the same thing to me,
What
Your
is the
Honor.
question again?
Whether she drank to excess or not, whatever she wants to strike, I'll strike it and move
Did
on.
you tell your lawyer that you had one and didn't drink to excess was his
Just
question?
Duke
I
did the
am
same.
going to simply sustain the objection prior to your striking your question, so that Ms. Duke can get the objection in on the record.
Works for me, Your Honor. Although she did do the same to me with Mr. Jordan, but
To children,
prior, when this marriage fell to pieces, we can agree that that would be the night of the night that Mr. Jordan was arrested, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that night, you found some inappropriate pictures or something on his phone of another woman, is that right?
Well, I had found those in July and August.
Okay. But you were angry with him, right?
He was cheating on me, yes.
Okay. And he came out of the bathroom wearing a towel, right?
He was naked, fresh out of the shower.
You grabbed him by his private parts, didn't you? Mangled him, didn't you?
I grabbed him to try to get away from him because he had grabbed my hair and was twisting me and pulling me backwards.
There was more than one dispute that night, wasn't there?
He kept. So when you're in an argument with Josh and you try to get away, he will follow you and keep yelling at you and get in your space and make you scared. And he kept grabbing me, and so I grabbed him to get him away from me because he would not stop coming after me.
And so you're saying you were not angry over the other women?
Well, yes, I was angry
Okay.
about the other. We were arguing that night was not only about that, but about finances as well, because he said that he was working, but no money was coming in. So we were arguing about finances and his inappropriate messaging with other
That night,
girls.
y'all were arguing about inappropriate messages with other girls, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And you were mad, right,
Yes, sir.
about that?
Yes, sir. I was
Okay.
upset.
And is it your testimony that leading up to that, you weren't drinking or using any kind of substances to excess? You weren't working, were you?
I was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. And you were drinking during that time, right?
I would have a drink here and there.
During the day, right?
Here and there.
While you had the child, right?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. And were you using substances leading up to that time?
No.
No substances.
Sometimes I would take some of Josh's Adderall that he would give me.
Not prescribed to you
Correct.
while you had the child,
Yes, sir.
by yourself.
Yes, sir.
Where do you live now?
With my mother.
Okay. Your mother does the majority of this parenting, doesn't she?
No, she does not.
Who watches the child during the day while you're at work?
Well, she watches her when she's not at school. She goes to school 2 days a week, half day. And then, yes, my mom keeps her instead of her going to a daycare.
If you're at home, your mom's there, right?
Typically.
Okay. And so, where does your mom go out and about a lot, or you're just talking about if she goes somewhere like to shopping or something like that?
She'll go out with her girlfriends for dinner or lunch or whatnot. I mean, she goes out some. She goes grocery shopping. You know, your typical things to do, I guess.
Okay. So it's fair to say that your parenting time is mostly supervised too, isn't it?
Well, I live with my mom, but once I get home from work, I tend to Eliza once I'm home. Because at that point, my mom's, she's the grandmother, so.
Did you film any of Mr. Jordan's visits that happened at your house?
Film any of them? We have cameras at the house.
And there was a period of time when you were able to have no contact, right?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Jordan became frustrated with those cameras, didn't he?
He would turn them around.
And there was one time, knowing full well that he was not allowed to be around you, you came out of the bedroom without him knowing that you were there because you couldn't watch the visits, didn't you?
No, he knew I was there. I would stay back in the back bedroom. He had turned the camera around and was getting pretty ugly with my mom. And so I stepped out and told him that if he could not be polite and respectful to my mom and keep the cameras where, it was in her playroom, it's on all the time so we can see her up there when she plays. But if he could not keep the camera turned where we could see and be respectful, then he could leave. And then I went back into the bedroom.
Well, the time that he violated the bond conditions, that wasn't a threatening text or anything like that, right?
It was a lot of messages.
Well, he was violated over one text that wasn't violent or aggressive at all, right?
And no, it was over a bunch of messages where I kept asking him to stop messaging me, please leave me alone, and he kept on and kept on. So I spoke to counsel, and
You spoke to counsel,
yes, and they told me what I should do because I didn't know what to do to make him stop.
and you waited 2 weeks after it happened, didn't you?
I don't know the timeline. I would have to look back at messages.
Did you, your mother, or anybody call the sheriff's office to serve him with a warrant when he came to pick up his child?
No, so
Because that happened, didn't it?
they,
Ms. Dane, let her finish the question before you begin the next question.
so when I called it in, they told me to call the non-emergency number, and they asked if I knew where he was, and I told them that he has visits with her, but I asked them to please not pick him up at the house because I did not want Eliza to see it. And they said that they knew where he was, so that's where they were going to pick him up.
When did you, how long before the visit where this happened did you call them? Can you remember a specific day?
Ask the question again. How
So-
long ago?
You swore to this affidavit, right?
Which affidavit?
The affidavit of complaint, the criminal affidavit of complaint for the violation of bond conditions. You swore to that one under oath, didn't you?
Yes, that I called them?
No, what I'm saying is,
Sorry, I don't
I understand, let
understand.
me explain that to you. When you swore out a criminal warrant, right?
That he was, I guess I'm trying to understand your wording. I don't understand what the exact question is, so I don't want to answer incorrectly.
Okay. You met with Deputy Gonzalez on around January 14th, right?
They came out to the house.
You called him out to the house, right?
Well, okay, so they were notified that he had been breaking the bond. They asked if I knew where he might be, because at the time he didn't have a
Mr. Spratt,
resident.
your client just left the courtroom. I don't know if he's going to the bathroom or what, but you, just making you aware of it since it was behind your back, you can proceed if you wish.
Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. At the time, he did not have a residence. He was going from place to place, and so they didn't know where to serve him with it.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked if I might know where he was, and I told them the only time I ever know where do you want me to stop?
If you can, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but that's.
I'm trying to answer your question.
Right, and I think we finally got where I'm wanting to go. When they asked you where he was going to be, was that on the day that you talked to him the first time?
To be honest, I don't remember. I know I spoke with counsel and told them what was going on. I mean, when the day that I called, because she told me that I should call the non-emergency number. So I called, and they went out that day, I believe, and picked him up.
Okay.
I think,
But
I
you
don't.
called, and I'm going to, if I may approach you.
I don't recall the exact timeline of it all. This was back in January, so I don't remember everything. January 14th.
Okay.
Okay.
And is that the day that you called him?
I can't give you a definite, I mean, I don't know. I guess, I don't know. Yes, so I called and told them that he had been breaking the bond conditions. And they asked if I knew where he lived because they would serve him. And I said, I don't know where he lives. And they asked if I knew where he would be. And I said, well, he does have visitations with our daughter at my mother's house. And then they picked him up that day.
They picked him up on a later day, that the day that the visitation was.
No, so I had left the house and I called them to let them know that he had been breaking the bond conditions.
You didn't, did you meet with the deputy in person prior to that?
No, they came out
Are you
to,
sure?
yeah, they came out, after that, after to take my statement, if I remember correctly.
Approach again, Your Honor. Not read out loud, read.
I was thinking they came after. I thought they came after. Yeah. Okay. I guess so, if that's what it says.
All right, so what I'm getting at is, did you later call to say, hey, he's going to be here on January the 27th to be arrested in front of his daughter?
No, see, that's what I'm trying to remember because my whole thing was I did not want them to come to the house. That was the only time that we knew where he was, but I tried to make that very clear to them when I called that I did not want them to come out to the house.
So it was not your intention to have him arrested in front of his daughter?
By no means, no,
Okay.
sir.
Those are my questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Duke, before you begin your direct or redirect or cross or whatever you want to call it, let's take a short recess. We'll take about 10 minutes. All right, Ms. Jordan, if you'll come back to the stand.
Now, Ms. Jordan, Mr. Spratt took issue with several things that happened in the past with you. Have you tried to own those mistakes?
Yes, wholeheartedly.
And subsequent to all of that happening, you and Mr. Jordan continued to reside together, is that correct?
Yes.
And he didn't have any problem with you continuing to be a stay-at-home mother for your child, did he?
No.
And have you provided care for your child since that time?
Yes.
Have there been any issues since that time?
No.
You were cleared by DCS and CPS, is that correct?
Yes.
And there is a registry out there that your name is on because of the charges against you, is that correct?
Yes.
And does that registry prevent you from being hired by a childcare facility?
Yes.
Okay. But absent that, Mr. Jordan, until today, didn't make issue about what happened, did he?
Correct, no.
As a matter of fact, he's still begging you back. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is he angry with you because you won't take him back?
Yes, he's discussed about how he wants to be a family and how we could work things out.
And since September 8th of 2023, who has been the primary caregiver for your child?
I have.
And since September 8, 2023, who has continued to have alcohol and drug issues?
Josh has.
You cleaned up your act?
Yes.
Now, you agree that we made an agreement for you not to drink, is that correct?
Correct.
For you and Mr. Jordan not to drink?
Correct.
Was that a reciprocal agreement just because Mr. Jordan did not need to be drinking?
Yes.
So you agreed to it also?
Correct.
Have you had any issues with alcohol since the DUI that you had?
No.
Okay. Are you addicted to alcohol?
No.
Have you ever been addicted to alcohol?
No.
Did you make a mistake that involved alcohol?
Yes.
Okay. Now, having said that, since that order, Mr. Jordan has also repeatedly drank. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the legal basis for your objection is basis of knowledge.
Which he can follow up with a question to find out.
I don't think it's a legal objection for to say someone doesn't have a basis of knowledge, but you can object to the form of the question, you can object to the question as argumentative, you can object to it as hearsay. Her basis of knowledge is a matter that you can question on cross-examination. I don't think it's a basis for a legal objection unless you got some authority on that point. Do what? Rule 602 of the Rules of Evidence, and what does that rule provide? Well, let's take a moment. We'll look that rule up and see where we are. I no longer have this on my computer because it's been, the administrative officer of the courts won't renew my little disc that has all of these on, so let me step off.
Judge, I can follow up with a question on it. Or no.
Rule what again?
602.
60 what? I thought you said 608.
He said 602.
I was thinking 608. I thought that's what you said. Maybe I heard it wrong. So. Rule is lack of personal knowledge. A witness may not testify to a matter unless the evidence is introduced sufficient to support a finding that the witness has personal knowledge of the matter. Evidence to prove personal knowledge may, but need not, consist of the witness's own testimony. So, basically, your objection is to lack of foundation, but that I still maintain is a question for cross-examination rather than for direct attack by objection. So I'm going to overrule your objection and allow you to explore that on cross-examination.
Since September the 8th of 2023, who has made sure your child got to and from school?
Well, my mom does on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I've gone to work.
Okay. But prior to that, were you making sure that it happened?
Well, actually started after I was I was able to take her the first week.
Was it your caregiving? Did you make sure that you had a caregiver lined up to get her to and from school?
Yes,
And today at lunch, did you have the opportunity to go pick her up?
I did.
Okay. And is he stable in his living arrangements?
He is staying at his mother's cabin.
And does it concern you about his brother living there?
Yes,
When he answered the question about drug abuse regarding his brother, does he know about his brother's drug abuse?
yes,
Have you heard him discuss his brother's drug abuse?
yes,
Are you concerned about his stability to drive a vehicle?
yes,
Are you concerned that he's still using based on your interactions with him and your interactions with him?
yes,
Are you concerned he's still using because he's missing visits?
yes,
Could you pass a drug screen today?
yes,
Could you pass a alcohol test that went back all the way to that date in September you said that you had a drink?
yes.
In retrospect, should you have drank that night?
No,
Okay. Did you make arrangements for a ride home that night?
yes,
Had you made arrangements for your daughter that night?
yes,
Were you up and at 'em early the next morning?
yes.
Okay, tell the court about that.
Well, she wakes up early, and so we were up and doing our normal morning routine the next morning.
You weren't suffering from having had too much? Did you drink in excess that night?
No,
If the court put down an order today that you are absolutely not to have another drink, do you have a problem with that?
no,
If the court were to put down an order regarding drugs and all of that, would you have a problem with that?
no,
Now, Mr. Jordan made mention that you don't include him in things. Did you include him in the pumpkin patch?
I did.
Okay. Did he go with you on that date?
He met us there.
Okay. And did he create a scene on that date?
He did.
And is that what gives you pause or reservation for having him go to other events?
Yes.
What event was it? I'm sorry.
It was a pumpkin patch event with the child.
When was this?
It's in my calendar over there.
Just within the last month.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
And did he do this in front of the child?
Yes, she was on his shoulders, actually. Well, part of the time was on his shoulders, part of the time she was next to me.
Okay. Did he act like a petulant child that day?
Like a tantrum, yes, yes.
And were there other people standing behind you ready to get involved?
Step in if they needed to, yes.
Were they strangers?
Yes,
Now, regarding the issues with Dixon County Tire and Oil, has he created issues up there before?
yes.
And has he created issues anywhere else recently that you know of?
Yeah, I mean, it happens frequently with people he interacts with.
Are you concerned about the effect that it'll have on your minor child?
Yes,
You have stable employment?
yes,
You have a vehicle that runs,
Yes.
paying your mom rent.
I do things for her around the house, chip in for groceries, anything for me and Eliza, I pay for. She does help out, but I do things around the house to help her, and it's kind of a mutual.
And has Mr. Jordan chastised you for living with your mother?
Yes.
Okay. Have you chastised him for living for free at the cabin and without a single bill?
No, I think it's good that he's got a roof over his head.
Do you want him to get better so that he's able to have a relationship with this child?
Yes,
Did you have a good relationship with your father?
I did.
Would you like to see him have that same type of relationship?
I would love to.
Are you doing this to be mean or vindictive?
No, I'm not.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell the court?
I just wish that he could get in control of his anger. It seems that no matter what you discuss with him,
Sustain, restate your question.
What do you want him to do to get better?
I want him to get in control of his anger. I want him to take control of his substance abuse, take on responsibilities for things, take accountability for things that he's done, and not be so aggressive.
Now, you heard him mention to you earlier, Mr. Spratt mentioned to Mr. Jordan earlier about the death of his father and that caused a spiral and things like that. Did Mr. Jordan chastise you when you lost your father?
He did. He told me to get over it and told my mom to get over it.
Did he, when you were mourning your father, did he say those things in front of your child?
Yes.
And when did your father pass?
May 22nd of 23.
Is there anything in your mind that prevents him from working a full-time job and being capable of paying his child support?
No.
How many months behind was he before we got here to court this morning?
But I don't know what it all equals out to. And so he didn't pay from January to July, I think it was. And then he paid right before court last time. And then he paid about half in September and then paid. So it's kind of sporadic. But he'll, right before court and such, he pays, kind of tries to catch up, so.
Have you seen him spend money on other things during this time period and not pay you your child support?
I haven't physically seen him, but I don't want to say I've physically seen him, but I don't know where the money is going that he does make, cutting grass and whatnot, if it's not going to child support.
That's all.
Spratt?
You talked about how you've owned your issues, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Jordan not just get up here in front of you and everybody and admit and own his own issues? Does that not count?
I think there's a difference in owning it and doing something about it.
But yet you never went to treatment for your issues, did you?
Correct. No, I did
So
not go to
I
treatment.
ask again,
I believe that's an objection to you cutting off the witness when she's trying to answer. Sustain the objection. Let her answer the question before we begin.
I did not go to treatment. As I said before, I wasn't addicted to anything, so I did not go to a treatment. I did do AA classes and did do all of those recommendations that they set out for me.
Until DCS left you alone. And then you
Well,
quit.
Well, until the case was closed.
Okay. And they left you alone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it is okay for you to decide when your issues are under control, right?
Well, I'm not drinking.
Is it okay for you to decide when your issues are under control?
For myself, yes, sir.
Okay. But it's not. You also want to control when Mr. Jordan's issues are under control, don't you?
Like I said earlier, I want him to control it, and I want him to
Who do you
take.
want to be, ma'am? Judge, it's non-responsive.
Sustain the objection. Let her answer it.
I'm not responsible for his drinking. I guess I'm not understanding your question. I'm not responsible for him drinking when he drinks, and that's his choice. I know from what I've seen and things that come along with when he drinks, the
Move to
aggression.
strike is non-responsive, Your Honor.
What's that?
Without interrupting her, she's not responding to the question.
Question was, does she want to be in control of him controlling his things?
And it's a yes or no question, Your Honor. Who do you want to be in control of him is my question.
I want him to control himself.
Okay. What proof do you have that he's not controlling himself?
I don't have hard proof, but I see
Okay.
things
Go ahead.
when his aggression comes back into play, when he gets verbally aggressive, when he's falling asleep during visit. When there's certain things that with him, not only myself, but his mother also are concerned. She thinks he's having an issue staying sober.
I don't want you, I'm not asking you what his mother thinks. I'm
Okay.
asking what proof. You said you have no proof. No hard proof. That's what you just said, wasn't it?
I do not have proof.
Okay. Now, so Ms. Duke asked you about him drinking in excess and all this and that, and you said yes. Do you recall me objecting? And then we looked for what your basis of knowledge was about that.
I remember that.
Have you seen him drink?
I'm not, I only see him at her visits.
Okay. Has he called you and said, hey, I'm drinking?
I just know that
It's a
he.
yes or
You
no
need to
question.
answer the question, a
Okay.
yes or no question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Ask it. Ask.
Did he call you and say, hey, I'm drinking?
No, so he told me that he was drinking when we met him for his birthday, and then he said he had drank a little bit after that. That's the last time that he told me that he was drinking.
Okay. But did you know, so that's how you knew that he'd had a drink? He told you?
Yes,
Okay. But you didn't know before that?
I suspected.
Okay. But yet it's okay for you to drink. You don't think that's a double standard?
I don't think it's okay for me to drink.
Because, and I appreciate that, and I'm going to move on to my next question, okay? If you told Ms. Duke that in retrospect, let's see, you got a ride home that night, right?
I did,
But you didn't drink to excess.
correct.
But in retrospect, you shouldn't have drank that night. Why? If you've got it under control, why?
Because it's created an issue here. And I shouldn't have drank that night.
Just like it did for DCS, you needed to clean it up for court, right? You didn't want to get popped with that picture of you drinking.
I don't, what's the question?
That's the only reason that you're saying that you told Ms. Duke in retrospect you shouldn't have drank that night is because it created an issue in court, right?
Well, we had agreed on it, and I made a mistake of drinking that night.
But again, just your mistakes are okay.
Sustained.
What does petulant mean?
I don't know the definition.
Then why did you answer yes when Ms. Duke asked you if he was acting like a petulant child, if you don't know what the answer to the question is, if you don't know what it even means?
Well, I guess in the questioning, I could understand what she was getting
You just
at.
wanted to say yes because that's what she asked you.
Sustained.
Have you hacked any of Mr. Jordan's accounts? Google
Hacked.
accounts? Do you have things of that nature, passwords and stuff like that?
Sustained.
I asked for basis of knowledge, Your Honor, on some things. I think I should be able to go into that. Our basis of knowledge is not outside the scope at all.
No, I sustained or I overruled the objection and said it could be explored on cross-examination, so overruled.
Have you gotten into his accounts since you separated?
Not since I had access to it when we separated. Prior to us separating, I still had access to it from when we were together.
You haven't accessed any of his accounts since the separation. That's your testimony.
Since we separated, I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
not logged into any of his accounts. I was logged into his account from his email account prior to us separating, and I just wasn't logged out.
Any account, Google, email?
Google, well, so he had me look at an email from his work account, and I had his password from that, and so that logged me into his account.
Did you access that account after the separation?
I was still I was never logged out. It was like constantly like an option when it like a drop down option.
Let's just cut to the chase. They're saying that you've had information or you've had access to some communication between him and his mother. Is that how you were describing it? Is because you had previously logged into his accounts and as a result of that, you could still see what was going on?
No, the communications I've had from his mother are between me and his mother.
All right. You're not saying then that you have communicated or that you've accessed his accounts in order to see what he's communicating with other people?
No, I've not seen any of his messages
All right.
from text messages or anything like that.
I'm sorry, I wanted to clarify that for my own knowledge, but you go ahead and ask for anything else.
Did you ever communicate to the district attorney's office that you'd seen things on his device during the pendency of the criminal charges?
Well, no, so I was logged into his email account so I could see emails that he got.
Well, okay, so we've gone from Google accounts now to email accounts.
No, that's what I originally said. So Google is Gmail. I guess it's a Gmail account.
Sure, okay. So that's what you were talking about when you said Google, was the Gmail?
Yeah, it's his
Okay,
Gmail
I
account.
understand. Okay. So did you relay any information out of that account to the district attorney's office?
I have,
You did.
yes.
And this was after you separated.
Yes.
Are you still looking in that account?
No.
And your testimony is that's the only thing you've snooped on him on?
Yeah, it showed location
So you were tracking his location?
when we were together, yes.
Were you tracking his location since the separation?
No.
But was it the same login that you had his password? Was that the same? Was it a Gmail? Is it Gmail how you were tracking his location?
Well, so it has like a location option on it.
Gmail does?
Yes, and it was it was off. So after we separated, the location was off.
But you tried to track his location.
No, I didn't try because the location was off.
Couldn't track it.
Correct.
Tried to track it.
Well, I didn't try. At that point, where he was is just where he was. I tried staying away from him.
Ms. Duke, anything further? She can't hear you and I can't hear you unless your microphone's on or you go to the podium. Step down, please. Mr. Spratt, we're still on your proof. You may call your next witness. He has rested his proof. Ms. Duke, do you wish to call any other witnesses? I'll hear you to an argument. You also have another motion. Are we dealing with that motion as well for drug testing? All right.
I don't think either party is perfect here. Mr. Jordan simply wants to see his child. It's clear that these parties are marriage is irretrievably broken, and it's heading for divorce as quickly as we can get it there. But he needs to be able to bond with this child. There's been no testimony that he's a danger to this child. There's been no testimony that he's ever hurt the child, done anything with the child. He has a residence. He has a vehicle. He's worked. As far as the arrears on the child support goes, Your Honor, it's in evidence that he was in treatment for 4 of those weeks, which got him behind the 8 ball. He has multiple potential employers for a regular employment schedule. And the biggest problem that I see in this divorce is that Mrs. Jordan wants to be in control of everything. She wants to be the final arbiter of when he's okay, yet, and say that she's owned her problems. It's how? She owned them long enough for DCS to get out of their hair. She made an error only because it created an issue here. And I'm not sure how she's finding out things, but I feel fairly confident that she may have just admitted to a felony on the witness stand. And to get up here and tell that story about how she decided unilaterally to take some sort of Suboxone in anticipation of an obstetrician giving her opiates, that's laughable. That is absolutely laughable. She has set up here and said, now, Mr. Jordan obviously is not perfect, but he did get up here and own everything. He said what his problems are. He knows he's not perfect, but there's been no testimony that he's a danger to this child. Clearly, they couldn't get along, but they're not together. He has testified that he has not had a drink since July 31st of this year. Did he backslide? Yes, he testified to that. Did he go to treatment before that? Yes, he testified to that. That's owning it. Owning it is not getting up here, coming up with wild theories about why the child was born addicted to Suboxone, or with Suboxone in its system. That's not owning it. So I would submit, and it has been some time, and I understand how these things go when we've got a child that's been removed from a parent for a long time, that it's not just like the court can just throw the child back at him in some sort of substantial overnight, but it's time that he be given a chance to fly. He's been proven no danger to this child. So some sort of graduated visitation, unsupervised, that leading up to some overnight visits and potentially a review date, I think would be the proper solution here. And, we do have more judges. If something goes wrong, Ms. Duke, I'm certain can file a motion pretty quick. So I feel like the court needs to give him an opportunity to bond with his own child and stop allowing Mrs. Jordan, who I would submit has not been truthful with this court, to be the final arbiter of how good or bad a father he is. Record, Your Honor, I did confer with my client. He did leave to go to the restroom.
Do what?
He did leave to go to the restroom earlier.
I assumed as much.
Well, I think the mother has got some reasonable concerns, no doubt. She is absolutely not perfect. She owned that on the witness stand, that she's not perfect. She was remorseful about what happened with her minor child in the vehicle. She worked every service that DCS and CPS had for her to work. She completed them and she was done. There was nothing else for her to do. Mr. Spratt would have you believe that she didn't do some follow-up or recommendation or anything, but she did what she was supposed to do. Otherwise, DCS would not have returned to the child for her. Additionally, the father continued to allow the child to stay at home with the mother, and that wasn't an issue subsequent to that arrest and her working the program. Now, going towards the father. The father can't explain today where his money's going. He has absolutely no expenses from his own statements. He doesn't have to pay rent. He doesn't have to pay utilities. He's not responsible to anything, yet he got $1,290 behind on child support. In my mind, he's spending that money on drugs, or he's spending it on alcohol. He's spending it on something that is obviously not his child. Mother has been with this child every day for the last 8 months and is taking care of this child. She has a stable environment, she has stable employment, and she's taking care of the child, making sure the child is taken care of. But what the court heard today is that he doesn't have stable living arrangements because of the mental health and drug issues of his brother. He does not have a stable employment. He hasn't exercised visits, and when he did not exercise those visits, he sent her some flowery, weird text messages that would make you think he was under the influence. She has suspected it. The evidence was clear that his mother continues to expect that he's using something. It may not be something you can test for, but they suspect he's continuing to use. And he's total.
Sustained. The mother was not a witness here, and in drawing any inferences from what the mother might or might not think is inappropriate.
I asked him if his mother was concerned, and he testified about that. That's what I recall, but I could be wrong.
She was not a witness. You were asking a question about what his mother might infer or might believe, and I think that, I don't remember if there was an objection, but in my opinion, I don't think that I can draw any inferences from what the mother, I can't base any ruling upon what a non-witness might or might not have thought. So.
Fair enough. He testified of his own behest that his mother won't let him at the family business. He has also he's had 4 accidents and totaled 3 vehicles in 8 months. That's not stable. And the last of the 3 vehicles was recently. Judge, there are concerns here, and I understand the court may have concerns with Ms. Jordan, but there are significant concerns with Mr. Jordan, especially with his ability to keep from making a scene in front of this child, even as recently as this month when this motion was already set. You'd think he could mind his behavior with the month preceding the hearing, but he did not do that.
Typically, I mean, in any case, there's usually fault on both sides. Mr. Jordan has every right to think that he should be involved in his child's life, and he should be allowed to become a natural type parent or have a more realistic relationship with his child than what he presently has. Under that prior order, the visitation is all supervised, and based on the fact that I think there were pending criminal charges, those charges have been resolved. There's no testimony as to whether he's currently on probation or not, but regardless of whether he's currently on probation or not, the fact is that he has resolved those issues, at least the criminal part of it. And so I don't cut the lawyers off from doing their job and presenting the evidence they think is appropriate. But what we've really done is to smear both of these parties. We've made a good job of portraying Mr. Jordan as being a person who has anger issues, and he has helped you along with that by his testimony in the court and his attitude. Clearly, I think he does have some anger issues. He needs to get a hold of it. He needs to get control of it, because that's going to haunt him for the rest of his life. Not only his testimony and his attitude and demeanor in court, but obviously whatever the situation is between him and his mother. Now, if that, or him and whoever it was he was interacting with at Dixon Tire and Oil. So there's no question that he has some angry issues and so forth. And there's no question that Mrs. Jordan has had problems in the past as well. And Suboxone is a drug that is a prescription-only drug, and the fact that she got those drugs from his parents and she used those drugs while she was pregnant is concerning to the court. She says she has straightened up her life. I don't care if either one of them were drinking when the child was not present, but they did make an informal agreement. That's not a court order. From this point on, I'm just going to simply put an order down. There'll be no alcohol consumed in the presence of this child, and no alcohol consumed either immediately before or during any visitation that he has. So that you want to drink yourself into obliteration, that's up to you. I don't hold it against you that you had a drink at your high school reunion. I'd be more surprised if you didn't have a drink at your high school reunion, the ones I've been to at least. And under the circumstances, I don't hold it against him that he had some problems and fell off the wagon. The question is now, where are we going to go from here? She wants Mr. Jordan to have a normal relationship and have a relationship with his child. She wants him to get control of his anger and get control of his substance abuse. There's no evidence other than what he testified to about in the past about substance abuse and the falling asleep and so forth. And that is concerning. But somewhere along the way, we've got to try to move towards some sort of unsupervised visitation and give him some incentive. So it is this court's opinion that at the present time, based on what I've observed today and what I've heard, that the best thing I can do is to order that the visitation that he has on Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. will henceforth be unsupervised. Now, with that unsupervision, that means there'll be no drug use, no alcohol use. It'll be during the daytime, so it's not likely that you're going to be drinking, but there's a court order that says you're not. In addition to that, I'm going to order that this brother, whoever has this mental issues, will simply not be around the child. The other visitations I'm going to leave supervised at the present time until we can see how the unsupervised visitations go. In addition to that, if there's any indication that Mr. Jordan is using any kind of controlled substances when he appears for his visitation, then whoever the custodian of the child is can refuse to let him have the child and can then notify that Mr. Jordan can, if he's refused visitation because of that, should go immediately under this court order and have a drug test done to show that he's not using anything. So the history of the case is where we're concerned about. I'm trying to move you towards having unsupervised visitations, and right now you haven't had any for a long time. So we're going to give you those 5 hours or so that are going to be unsupervised and see how you do. And then if you do well, don't have any other problems, then you can expect that we'll continue to do that. In addition to that, it seems to me that I'm not going to order Mr. Jordan to undergo any additional anger management, but clearly, in my opinion, he has anger issues. And for a final hearing in this case over custody, it would be well served to try to get into another anger management or get some help either psychologically or psychiatrically with whatever his anger issues are. The issue, these two people don't need to be together, that's for sure. The incident that occurred during their marriage where there was a gun fired at his head and both of them were physically assaulting one another, that's just what you're doing is think about this, and I don't know how, your child's 3.5 years old. I've got grandchildren that are the same age. They are very perceptive at that age, and they will see and understand what is going on. If Mr. Jordan does something during this 5 hours that I'm giving him unsupervised during the day, that if he talks badly about Mrs. Jordan, that's going to come to light. A 3-year-old can't keep their mouth shut. And if that happens, he's going to lose that supervised, he's going to lose all visitation potentially. So just don't talk about the other parent. Don't say anything negatively. Keep your anger under control. Make this visitation with your daughter a fun time doing something that she wants. Don't fall asleep This is your 5 hours to prove that you can be a parent. So I'm giving you a trial run on that. How you do on that depends on what will happen down the road, whether it's me or one of the other judges, because this order is going to reflect that the court's observation of how this 5 hours of unsupervised visitation goes will determine whether or not there is any other further progress. I know you're concerned, Mrs. Jordan, about this, but he is the father of the child. He has a right to expect to have a normal type relationship. Whatever's happened to you two in the past, you know, as you see, they want to make a big deal out of your past. We're making a big deal out of his past. It cuts both ways. So let's try to start fresh and let Mr. Jordan have, I mean, he's gone through rehabilitation. He's gone through some classes and done some things to try to straighten himself out. Fell off the wagon, that's fine. I am concerned, no offense intended, but this text message about these demons that are there, that does concern me. And I think it would be you would be well served to continue to see a psychiatrist, and Mr. Spratt is a good lawyer. And he knows for a final hearing that the judge, whoever it may be, is going to want to hear from a psychiatrist that says, these are the reasons that these types of statements are being made by Mr. Jordan. And I don't discount the fact that certain people have perceptions, that certain people have the ability to sense and feel things other people cannot. What concerns me are people who feel that they are being affected by outside influences, dark demons who are controlling them. Because I have experience with representing people who have had those, and they were on trial for murder when they had those as a result of those kinds of things. Not saying that's what your problem is, but I want you to understand that's why it causes me some concern. Just, I need some sort of proof that shows that your beliefs about those things are not something that's going to lead you to take action. They're not the reason why you've had anger issues, but rather they are, perhaps just something that you need to deal with. Whatever they are, I want you to get them under control, and I want some sort of proof at a final hearing that these beliefs do not present an issue for the child. Any questions about my ruling? Turn your microphone on.
What was the day that was unsupervised?
What?
Wednesday from when?
Yeah, you told me there was a Wednesday visit, Tuesday from 5 to 7, Thursday from 5 to 7, and Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's what he's been exercising, if I'm understanding correctly.
The parties can work out a time otherwise if they agree to something.
I'd rather have this one in writing if I can, Your Honor. I think Saturday from 9 to 1 is what the visit was, is what the 5 hour, and I think Wednesdays was from 5 to 7 p.m.
Well, what was the 9 to, maybe I wrote it down wrong. What was 9 to?
Working right now.
Well, it would create a problem when he does start working. I don't know why he couldn't just have Saturday.
I want him to have 5 hours of unsupervised visitation during the day. If it can be done from Wednesdays at 9 to 1, then so be it. If he gets a job, which he certainly should, then we need to change it to a day off, then we'll change it to a day off. You all work that part out. She's working full time, and for that reason, I think it's her mother that's keeping the child. So I want it to be done during a time when he's not working. If he gets a job, which I want him to do, then that's what he needs to do, so. Turn on your microphone.
Can we get an arrearage judgment on the?
How much does he owe?
It's
Is there any question about that?
No.
No, Your Honor, $190.
Then-
We don't want to spiral him with the contempt
All right, there will
necessarily.
be a judgment entered for the balance of the support that he owes. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Y'all gonna have to get over whatever the problems are. She doesn't want your back, Mr. Jordan, so, good for you. I think the feeling is mutual now, and as a result of today, if nothing else, we've established that you two are gonna have to go your separate ways. So find a way to live with it and find a way to be able to parent your child in a way that's going to be productive for her, and is not going to be one that you're trying to get over on each other. So All right, that's the judgment of the court. Ms. Duke will draw the order and submit it to Mr. Spratt for his approval. All right, thank you.
Thank you everyone for watching. Remember, be kind. Be a kind human. It takes way more effort to be an asshat than it does to be kind. And if nobody hears from me for a while, send an ambulance because this soup's tasting a little funky. Just saying. Hashtag Meg's back in the comment section. Like it, share it, share it, share it, share it. Help me get these numbers up so I can give away all these fun things because, you know, everybody likes fun things. See you next time.